everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the webinar today. Really pleased to be able to talk you through what we've created. And I guess really want to set the backdrop for why we're here. And really, it's all about the change that we're seeing within organisations. And what that means is, if you think about it, we spend IT has optimised around an old way of working, and what we see now is that it's really about a new way of working. It's about any team, any place, any time, and any device. And this is what's driving workforce change. This is driving the behaviours and beliefs people have about how they want to be working, and how they think that organisations should be giving them the tools to work with. And really, IT hasn't traditionally kept up with these demands. And when we look across our customers, we're always looking at different ways to sort of liberate them from traditional IT, and the workforce is no exception. And the current realities for workforce and desktop productivity, it's a bit of a sad world. The challenge is being stuck in this desktop management complexity of gold images of the perfect build and limited device choice, stuck on legacy operating systems. Some 300,000 custom businesses still stuck on Windows XP. This cycle of refresh and upgrade of users demanding freedom from traditional IT. The sort of whole idea of consumerization of IT, where employees at home are experiencing much greater freedom, flexibility, and choice for their computing devices, and work is constraining them. And then the opportunity that comes is this idea of anywhere, anytime, and any device, of browser and mobile delivered applications, and of bring your own device or choose your own device, and tablets and Chrome devices. And really what seems to be stopping organizations from making that rapid shift across to this new world is the legacy apps that still haunt our organizations. And even though people are rapidly adopting browser apps and mobile apps for their line of business applications, and it's very rare these days for a new application not to be browser delivered, the unfortunate point being that many of the apps that we still rely on to run our businesses are traditional desktop installed applications. And the challenge there is moving off them, but secondly is that the technologies that exist to virtualize apps and desktops are typically too hard and too costly for organizations to take advantage of. And so at Fronde, we've sort of been thinking about this challenge for a while, and thinking about how do we solve that for our customers. And what we've worked on and what we've created is what we're calling the Digital Workspace. And really what this is the unification of sort of three separate solutions. We have Google Apps, so our software as a service, mail and productivity applications, Chrome devices, the new generation of device from Google for low-cost compute, and then legacy apps, where we basically effectively appify your business by publishing the legacy desktop applications using the power of Citrix and Amazon Web Services. So I really just want to dive into these solution components and help you understand why these are so significant, and the benefits they bring to liberating your workforce. So the first one is Google Apps for Business, and hopefully most people are aware of what Google Apps for Business is. But just to recap for those who aren't as familiar, Google Apps is browser and mobile delivered mail and productivity applications, and really what these are is the new breed of business productivity, where you can work anywhere, anytime, any device. It's this idea of the consumerization of IT, where Google's massive power and user base and consumer mail and productivity has been transformed for business, secured, enabled for the enterprise, and now gives you a real alternative to the traditional Microsoft Office suite or Lotus Notes. And what people are looking at when they look at Google Apps is they're seeing a new way of working, a much more collaborative way of working, and a more productive environment. And so that's we've had a lot of customers. We've got some 40,000 users of Google Apps under Fronde across Australia and New Zealand, and many of them are really enjoying the benefits they bring. And I guess the next wave of change that's come has been Chrome devices. So Chrome devices are basically a hardened operating system that effectively runs the Chrome browser on dedicated devices. Now these devices are highly secure, tamper-proof, and also incredibly cheap, with incredibly long battery life. So what we're seeing is a wide range of device manufacturers: Samsung, Acer, Asus, HP, Lenovo, probably forgetting a few, all coming out with different types of these Chrome devices. And colloquially, this has been called, 2014 has been called the year of the Chromebook, really signaling the massive uptake. And I guess why has there been such a massive uptake? And the interesting angles here is here's a laptop device that costs less than the mobile phone that you would typically issue to an employee. The prices range from several hundred to sort of $300, $400, $500, depending on the device you choose. And for that, you get a device that a user really can't install viruses and spyware on, can't screw up the configuration, and it's a cloud-managed operating system. This means that an administrator can simply manage the device, lock it down, all from a cloud console. Better yet, if the user breaks the device, you can hand them another one at relatively low cost, and it's of absolutely no use or value to the person who takes it because they're completely locked out of it. So they're really powerful for enterprise, and you contrast that to the traditional world of enterprise IT, with multi-thousand-dollar laptops, or probably worse still is the desktop where the user is chained to their desk. And so Chrome devices are really taking off. It's the highest selling device on in the laptops on Amazon, and some 25-30% of enterprise device shipments in Q1 in the US were for Chrome devices. So many people might characterize them as just being suitable for education, but that's far from the case. We're seeing enterprises adopt them dramatically, not just for employees, but also to run them in kiosk modes. So really, Chrome devices are unseating, I guess, the traditional Windows PC from the enterprise, and also, as an added bonus, a much lower total cost of ownership, as they don't have Windows operating systems and don't have the same management overhead. So the third, and I guess the sort of the part that really glues the digital workspace together, the part that that makes all this work, is the idea of taking Citrix technology and combining it with Amazon Web Services to deliver those traditional desktop applications down to the compute device. And the key point here is that that we as an organization, we Fronde, have been selling Google Apps and selling Chrome devices for a number of years now. And what we see is that what is really the barrier to this full-scale adoption of true anywhere, anytime, any device has been those legacy apps. It's been the weird client application that got written 10 years ago that does one particular task that a bunch of users need, and there's these applications pervade organizations, and what they do is they constrain an organization to a traditional operating system build. They constrain an organization to traditional desktop management. And really what we're looking at is how can we liberate both the enterprise IT from the traditional desktop management, and also how can we liberate the end users from being forced to use a standard work machine to perform their daily job. And so what we've done is taken the challenge with Citrix, and I mean Citrix existed for quite a while. It's obviously a very popular technology for application virtualization, but the challenge has been making this affordable to organizations. And the reason for this is that application virtualization, as you can see from this rather complex diagram, has very complex infrastructure needs behind it. And what we've done is we've taken the Citrix infrastructure, and we've used the power of Amazon Web Services, this incredibly low-cost, highly reliable, highly scalable cloud infrastructure, to make it actually truly cost-effective for businesses. So for those of you not aware, Amazon Web Services has a large multiple data centers in Sydney, servicing Australia and New Zealand. And thanks to the local presence of the Amazon region, we can now serve up Citrix applications at much more effective total cost than you could with on-premise Citrix. And to give an example of that, this is a bit of a graph showing how the traditional Citrix workload, you'd have to provision for peak capacity. You'd have to provision it for 11 a.m. in the morning when all your staff are working on their desktops, and so you'd have outside of those times you'd have all this wasted capacity, and you'd be spending a lot of money on provisioning that capacity and managing it. Whereas with Amazon Web Services, because it's a highly elastic public cloud infrastructure, we can scale that to meet the needs of your users. So we can have a very low level, a pilot-like capacity, if you like, outside of business hours. And then we can ramp that up elastically during the day to meet user demand, and then scale it back down. And while this is obviously technically quite interesting, the real benefit here is that what it does is it makes Citrix affordable to a much wider range of organizations than could previously afford it. It also gives you a highly resilient infrastructure which is available and therefore can be served up anywhere, anytime, to any device. So those are the three key components of the digital workspace, and really what I want to do now is give you a bit of a walkthrough of what that looks like in reality, because I can imagine that a lot of you are thinking in your minds, what does this actually look like? And I guess what you will have seen before I go through the walkthrough, what you will have been hearing quite a bit about is in the press is this idea of desktop as a service. This sort of this idea that we can publish the traditional legacy desktop as a service, and many of the problems of the world go away. What our opinion would be on that, and this is from talking with our customers, is that users don't want a desktop. Users want applications. And this is why so many people are picking up cloud-based applications, software as a service applications, such as Google Apps, Salesforce.com, NetSuite, and others, is because they want to consume these applications through their browser. And so going back to a published desktop as a service is really a retrograde step. You're forcing users back into this somewhat broken desktop metaphor. You are giving them this managed desktop, so you're still managing a desktop. So one of the key goals we had with bringing this together was this realization that users wanted apps. And so one of the taglines we've sort of been throwing around a bit is this idea of appifying your business. And I think it really resonates with people, because you think about your mobile phone, you think about your tablet, you think about the way you want to use your computer is really you're just consuming apps these days. And so that's what we've done, is we've looked at this idea of a sort of an enterprise app store. So really now I just want to walk through what that looks like. So it's a secure web portal that users come to and authenticate against. In this case, we've got a basic login page for users to authenticate using their Active Directory credentials, and so they're signing in the way they traditionally have. The big change is when you then log in, you're now presented with really this app store, this sort of homepage for your enterprise. And down here under my apps, I've got all the applications that I've got the rights to access. So this is all controlled through policy as to what apps I have. So I only get the apps I'm allowed to have, and I can run multiple applications together. Now, the interesting thing to point out here is I can do some things that I just can't do on a traditional desktop. Like I've got two different versions of Excel that are available to me. I can run both Excel 2010 and Excel 2013. I could have multiple versions of Internet Explorer. I could even have old versions of IE that are no longer secure that could be deployed here and made available to me solely for accessing a particular line of business application. So what we can do as an organization is we can remove from users the ability to use an insecure browser to surf the internet, and restrict it down to purely access the business application that requires this legacy browser. So also as part of the App Store, the ability to put into the sort of the homepage company news or tweets or other dynamic content, really to make it the place people go to. And this is sort of to address the idea that I guess what we see is that, and I'm sure you've seen this all yourselves, is that the traditional corporate intranet is pretty much broken. Is that all that users are not going to intranets, that the access rate of them is pretty dire. And so, but what they do access is the apps that they use to perform their job. And as such, this app store, this portal, is intended to not only surface the applications that are of interest to them, but also to surface to them key bits of corporate or organizational information to really get people collaborating and working together. So, so a range of applications here. Another interesting point is that you can start to understand the applications that users are actually using. So a lot of people will provision out to the business. They'll give people Visio, or they'll give them Microsoft Project, or other applications that have an add-on license fee, and they may well not be using it. So this is a great way to understand what is truly being used by your end users. And the great thing is that users can also add other applications, and they can configure the apps that they see. So here I've pulled out on the side, I've pulled out sort of an app drawer, and I can add in a new application. So just by clicking on the PowerPoint 2010, I can bring that and add that into my desktop. Similarly, I can remove from my sort of app desktop the applications that I no longer want. And then from this App Store homepage, it's simply a matter of clicking on an icon and launching the client application. So in this rather colourful screenshot, I've launched a very traditional piece of desktop software. You can see that it's running there in the browser tab on the Chromebook, the traditional sort of file menus. So this is a traditional desktop app published into a browser client. And so for me as an end user, I can just interact with it as though it's a normal client, normal desktop application, sorry. I can rotate, I can move things around, I can use it, but it's there and it's available on any device I happen to be on. And the nice thing here is that we have the potential to use, I guess, the large-scale power of the cloud computing infrastructure we're running on with Amazon to really power some applications that would otherwise be very intensive on the client device. And that's a really key point, is that these are things that are just running in the browser. We're pushing pixels effectively down to the browser, so we can, these Chromebooks, which are relatively lightweight, long battery life devices, can now run applications, say Visual Studio or other graphic applications that are incredibly intensive. So it's not just this graphics app. It's also the more traditional things like Microsoft Word. And really what this is about, I guess, to use Fronde as an example, we've passionately embraced Google Apps for Business in our organization. We really enjoy the collaborative real-time experience of editing Google Docs together and those kind of things. But we still have to interact with people who are in a Microsoft world, and so using our Digital Workspace, we're able to open legacy applications in full-featured Microsoft Word as required. Interestingly, what we're finding is this is happening less and less, but it's still something we occasionally need to do. And also, I guess people like our finance team still require Excel, even though the majority of the business never uses it. So here we're running Word in a browser on a Chromebook, and really the performance is native, as though it's running on your desktop. We have a client who's running, we've deployed up onto Citrix, up on AWS in Sydney. They have around 300 staff running about 3,000 kilometers away in Wellington, and really the performance for those end users is as though it's installed. The Citrix protocol is really that good. So those users who need these traditional desktop applications won't really perceive that the application is running further away than their desktop. And just another example, this is running Internet Explorer. In this case, it's actually a reasonably modern version of IE. It's IE 11, but it could be an older version of IE. So we have a number of clients who have applications that still rely on ActiveX controls, or maybe it's old green screen applications, or things that have been optimized to work with a particular version of IE. Clients are obviously wanting secure, reliable browser browsers these days, so Chrome being a great example, but still occasionally need IE. So with the Digital Workspace, we can publish IE out to end users so that they can continue to use a particular line of business application with full productivity, but then only use it for that purpose, and use a secure browser for everything else that they do. So really, the world is your oyster with regard to what you publish here. And I think an interesting point is one that our vision would be that this world of published desktop applications is not one that's going to live forever. We see this inexorable shift towards browser and mobile delivered applications, and really what we expect is that clients are going to move across to those over time. So these legacy applications are kind of this sort of stepping stone to the true anywhere, anytime, any device. In terms of how we get there, we really work with you to understand how this all works for your organization and to tailor a solution that fits your business. So we usually start with customers by assessing the opportunities to liberate your workforce, look at what your current state is, and come up with a strategy and roadmap. Then the next step is to get on and basically get a customized digital workspace up and running for your business, put onto it some of the apps that are really critical, equip your, like say, 10 of your team with a Chrome device and get them going, and then really get these people to go out into your business, promote the change, promote the potential, collect the feedback of what's going to work. And then the next step is really to commence that liberation, to start rolling out this technology across your business, to start freeing yourself up from that desktop refresh cycle, to give people a laptop that has a 10-hour battery life and works anywhere at any time. And you can start liberating your business from traditional IT. So really, that's really what I wanted to cover today.